Mix on the mix.
Subsea vibes, guys. Today we're gonna be doing a beginner's tutorial on how to use Microsoft Excel. So the first thing that we obviously gonna do is to launch our Microsoft Excel. Then we type Microsoft Excel or just Excel, and there it is. Then we click on it. Guys, before we go any further, I'm not gonna be too detailed about everything that is there because it might end up being confusing for the beginners. Remember, this tutorial is for beginners. If you are an advanced user, you might need to skip and go maybe to the part 2 of this tutorial because this is part 1. Alright, let me reopen my Excel. The other way of opening it, I can just expand that drop down menu and then just click on that. Since it's my first time using this, I'm going to say ask me later. Alright. Guys, for the other versions, the latest versions of Excel, remember the things that I'm gonna teach you right here, you're also gonna use them. There isn't much difference. Okay. Alright, so once you open the Microsoft Excel, the first thing that pops up are these windows right here, which you might need to choose from. But for the sake of someone who is just beginning, I would recommend that we open an empty workbook, which is right here, which is the first option, return blank workbook. Let me click on that once. Alright, so this is our workbook. Okay, so we might need to explain what we are seeing right inside this workbook. Okay, maybe I might just start by explaining why Excel is so important in our day-to-day lives. Excel is used by big companies, small companies. Almost everyone uses Excel to manage their spreadsheets, their information, or whatever. These things that you see at the top here, like file, home, insert, page layout, formulas, data, review, view, all those things, they are called tabs. You can open a new tab depending on what you are trying to achieve. So for now, we're gonna stick to the home tab. Right, after you click that tab, you have this section right here. That section is called a ribbon section. All these things that you're seeing, font type, font size, with wrap text, image and center, all these things, they are inside what is called a ribbon. And then below the ribbon, there are what are called groups. You need to understand, okay, for example, if I click here a group, it gives you more options for your ribbons. I hope that came out clear. So this font, we have a font group. Did I say group? Yes, I did. Okay, and then below these arrows, these are called expansion buttons or launch buttons. Okay, so enough about that. In Excel, a workbook rather is made up of columns and rows. The columns are named A, B, they have the alphabetical letters. They go all the way up to Z. And then after Z, you have an AA, AB, AC, and so on and so forth. And then the rows, they are made up of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going downwards. Okay, so the intersection between a column and a row is what is called a cell. Okay, a cell is an intersection between a column and a row. Each cell has its own address. It can be identified regardless of how many cells I have. I don't know if there are millions or if they are infinite, but each and every cell is what I prefer to call an address. An address is something that helps us to locate its position. If I click on this cell and then check on the box right here, it shows you the address or the cell name. It's telling me that it's C5. Why? Because from what I said before, that's where our column and our row are intersecting. If I click here, this is H5. Click here, this is an M2. You don't need to crack yourself by trying to identify this. The moment you click N cell, check in this box the address for that cell. Okay, please, before we go any further, if you are new to the C Vibes Tech channel, I beg you to subscribe, like these tutorials. This is a channel where we do a lot of tech tutorials, especially for beginners. But if it's grouped into parts, which means part 2 will be comprising of a bit of advanced stuff, but we'll try to simplify it as much as we can so that everyone can understand. Alright, so okay, let me try to zoom in on this workbook. Alright, that's much better now. You can zoom in by clicking this button right here. You can drag it left to zoom out, drag it to the right to zoom in. Okay, so if we go down to the bottom of the workbook, they are what are called sheets. You can have as many sheets as you want. Okay, I just made a simple example here. Okay, I'm going to pretend that I'm a weatherman today. So during the course of January, let's say I was recording my temperatures, minimum and maximum, daily from Monday to Friday. So that's the information which we'll be entering in this workbook. Okay, so if you have sheet 1, you can click on this plus button, then you have 2 sheets, and then sheet 3, sheet 4, sheet 5, and so on and so on. Okay, let's say you want to delete a sheet, you don't want it anymore in your workbook. All you gotta do is left click on that sheet. Okay, in this case I'm going to delete sheet 6 by right clicking on it and then delete. It's gone. Alright, and then another tip still on the sheets. Let's say you want to name it to represent your data or your information. The quickest way of doing this is by double clicking. Then we can name this week 1. Remember I said I'm going to be monitoring temperatures for 4 weeks in the month of January 2022. So I'm going to type week 1. In the next sheet, which is sheet 2, I'm going to type week 2. Sheet 3 is week 3. Sheet 4, week 4. Alright. You should not forget to save your workbook. Alright. This is done by clicking on File and then click on Save. But if you were editing a previous workbook, you can click on Save As. The only difference is when you say save, you are already saving to the current workbook, but if you say save as, you are saving it under a different file name. So in this case I'm going to click on save, and then I'm going to click on browse to locate where I'm going to save my workbook, manually save and locate the folder where I'll be saving it. I'm going to create a new folder inside my documents by right clicking inside that empty space, scroll down to where it says new, and then I click on folder, or if you want you can just click this tab right here which says new folder, and then we have it. We are going to name this folder temperature. Now just temp for temperature, and then we are going to double click on that folder, and then our book, we are going to name it daily temperature. Okay, then click on save. Our workbook has been saved, so no matter whatever changes that I'm gonna make, I'll be just clicking on that save icon, top left corner, or the shortcut. Actually, I was thinking of doing another tutorial about shortcuts, or the basic shortcuts that you need to know, whether you're in Excel or Microsoft Word. Alright, so that will be another tutorial for another day. Zoom in again. I'm gonna give this workbook a title. It's going to be called daily temperature. But before I go there, there's something that I forgot to mention. I only mentioned cells. Now we might encounter a situation. Okay, let me address this issue. Alright, let's proceed. I was saying you can have a group of cells. It can be a group going downwards or across or something like this. That is called a range. When you have more than one cell highlighted, it's called a range. So the way a range is named is by first naming this top left cell, and then we say top left cell through bottom last cell. Okay, what am I saying? In this case, let me just use this space right there. This range is identified or addressed as B. Let me use capital letters. B2 through. What I mean by through, I mean this. This cell right here, D5. Okay, but in Excel there are some things that you should and you shouldn't do. You can't write through in words, but rather you use a colon. So in place of that through word, I'm going to put colon. That's the colon right there. So that is this range. That's how you identify this range. Okay, let me just delete that. Alright, like I said, we are going to give a title to this workbook. It's going to be named daily temperature. As you can see, that name is too long. It's overlapping to the next column or to the next cell. So what you can do is you can manually drag. You put your mouse right here, and then you just drag to your right. If you want to make it smaller, just click and drag to your left, just like that. Alright, but since we are trying to make our workbook look as neat as as we can. So what we are going to do, we are going to click in that first cell, and now we go to our ribbon. If you remember what I said about ribbons, we are going to this ribbon under Home tab. Let's say you are here and you are trying to find that option and you are kind of lost. Just click on Home, go down to the ribbon, and then we click on Merge and Center, but we are going to expand that Merge and Center button by clicking on the arrow right there. Okay, want to merge and center across. Alright, that's that. Or if you want, and let me undo by clicking Ctrl Z. And just click on the first row and then just click on Merge and Center. Okay, whatever that is highlighted, it centers that text. Okay, let me click on Undo. Let's say I'm going to use cells up to H as an example, and then I click on Merge and Center. You see what happens. That's more like it. So since it is a heading, we might need to make it bold. So let's highlight on that text like that, and then we just click on bold. Maybe we might need to underline it. If you want, you can just color the text box to make it different from the rest. Let's see what color we can put right there. Yeah, that's good. Alright, that's our main heading for our workbook. So I'm gonna add a subheading somewhere here which says month January 2022. I'm going to merge and center it up to C. Me try to make it a little smaller, and then yeah, that's better. For whatever changes you make, you should make it a habit to save frequently. Alright. So I'm gonna need 1, 2, 3 columns for the data that I'm going to type in. The first one is going to be day. Okay, now we are going to navigate or to move to the right by pressing the right arrow. But the shortcut for moving to the right, if you don't want to use arrows, you press tab. It takes you to the right cell. I'm gonna name that cell minimum temperature. Okay, I'm not going to write temperature, I'm gonna insert a symbol for temperature. Where do I find that symbol? By clicking on insert, and then we click on symbol. Let's look for a temperature symbol right there. Let me try to scroll. Temperature symbol. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy this and paste it into the next cell. Copy it, Control C, paste. You click the cell that you want to paste it to, and then Control V. And then let's press escape to deselect that cell. So I'm going to try and adjust this text so that it looks much more presentable. There's something that I'm realizing about our heading. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to edit it. Okay, so I'm just going to click the row where it is, and then right click, then delete. Right, I click on the first row, right click, insert. I'm gonna put it right there. I'm going to paste it. Okay, it's gone. Going to rename it again as daily temperature. So it's now clear that I'm going to be using 3 columns, so I'm going to select up to the 3rd column, then go back to the home tab, merge and center, and just add that color. Alright, or no fill. I think it's much better like that. Or if you want to undo the merging, click on that inside that cell where your text is, drop down menu, and then unmerge. That's more like an undo way or an unmerging. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. If you don't get it, forget about it. Okay. So our first day of the week is going to be a Monday. Okay, for you to go to the bottom cell, the quickest and easiest way is to press enter. But if you want, you can use the down arrow. Okay. Okay, our minimum temperature on a Monday. Okay, I prefer typing column by column. It's faster that way. I'm gonna type 3, enter, 4, enter, 3, enter, 2, enter, 1, enter. Then we go to the next column. 15, enter, 20, enter, 18, enter, 19, enter, 10. When we copied this text, we forgot to rename it here, but it was deliberate, so we are going to rename that part, that subheading. It's going to be maximum instead of minimum. So once you click the cell of that text, then you go to this bar at the top, the function bar right here, and then we click and then backspace. I'm gonna rename it max. But I want my text to be centered, so I'm going to highlight this range. If you remember what I said about range, it's now coming into play. I've highlighted my range, and then still under home tab in this ribbon, I'm going to select this center text. That's more like it. Okay, so the idea is to make it as presentable as possible. Okay, so we're gonna insert a table. I'm going to highlight everything within this range, and then we go to the insert tab, and then under table I'm just going to click on table, and then OK. Or if you want, we can format the table to suit what we need. The good thing is everything can be manipulated. We can choose this table style here. Let's see which one looks much better. I'm gonna go with this one. So if you check closely, this text, we entered it under week 4 when it was supposed to be under week 1. So what we are going to do is we are going to copy this sheet, we are going to copy this data into week 1. How do we do that? Let me save first. We click on week 4 and then right click, and then we click on move or copy, and then it's asking us where we should copy our text to. I'm going to move it before week 1. And then I'm gonna tick this box which says create copy, and then OK. Alright, so I'm just going to copy this sheet name and then paste it right there. The name is already taken. Try a different one, no problem. We can put Q temporarily, and then we delete this one. Alright, and then go back to rename. It's now week 1. So I'm also gonna delete this one. So before I end this, there are some shortcuts that I didn't explain when I was typing this. Okay, I said moving to the right is tab. If you want to move back, you press shift and tab. Shift is like you're commanding it to undo. And then if you want to go to the bottom next cell, you press enter. And then if you want to move back to the top cell, you press shift and then enter. Okay. Or rather, if you find the arrows to be easier for you, you can just use the arrows. Thank you so much, guys. See you in the next tutorial.